Ready? I think we're ready if you are.
Meeting will please come to order. This is a duly advertised meeting of the Joliet Zoning Board of Appeals. In our capacity, we hear petitions for relief from the strict provisions of our city ordinance. In matters of this type, the decision of this board is final. In respect, it does not go to the mayor or the city council for any further action. If you disagree with our decision, you do have recourse in a court of record. We also hear petitions for variations of land use. In matters of this type, we act as an advisory committee to the mayor and city council, making a recommendation either for or against it. The final decision on land use is made by the mayor and the city council. Secretary, pull the board.
Ms. Safford? Here. Mr. Alessio?
Here.
Mr. McShane?
Here.
Mr. Noctree?
Here.
Mr. Riggs?
Here.
Ms. Rohr? Mr. Hennessy?
Here.
First order of duty would be approval of minutes from the April 21st meeting.
Motion would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
We have motion, second, to approve the minutes, pull the board.
Mr. Alessio?
Abstain.
Mr. McShane?
Abstain.
Mr. Noctree?
Here. Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Ms. Safford? Aye. Mr. Hennessy?
Aye.
Next item is citizens to be heard on agenda items. This section is for anyone wanting to speak regarding items listed on the agenda. Anyone speaking on an agenda item is entitled to speak for a maximum of 4 minutes. It's not a question and answer period, and staff in the Zoning Board of Appeals does not generally respond to public comments. Please note, speakers who engage in conduct injurious to the harmony of the Zoning Board of Appeals shall be called to order by the presiding officer and may forfeit the opportunity to speak. If there's anybody that would like to speak on agenda items, you could speak now. We also allow you to speak when the agenda item is called, so just be aware of that. Seeing none, we can move on in through the agenda. Item 5, old business for public hearing. We have one. And this is petition number 2022-21. The applicant and owner is Morningstar Mission Ministries Incorporated. Their location is 1350 South Briggs Street. Their request is a special use permit. Under purpose, Morningstar Mission Ministries, the applicant and property owner, is requesting a special use permit to allow a daycare center, Head Start Program Center, After-School Care Center, and Summer Day Camp Center at the former YMCA facility located at 1350 South Briggs Street. Zoning Board of Appeals will make the final decision on this special use permit request. Under site-specific information, the existing facility opened in 1978 and operated at the Smith Family YMCA until March 2021. Facility currently has a large gymnasium, large swimming pool, handball courts, multi-purpose rooms, locker rooms, and bathrooms and office space. The facility sits on a 26.51 acre lot that includes a paved parking lot with 100 parking spaces and recreational land to the rear. The site has two entrances onto Briggs Street. The property is zoned RB restricted business. Under surrounding zoning land use and character, to the north is unincorporated Will County, and that's agricultural land. To the south is R2 single family residential, that's St. Paul's Missionary Baptist Church. To the east is R1B single family residential, and that's agricultural land. To the west is unincorporated Will County, and that's residential. Under applicable regulations, section 47.5.2, special uses, public or private kindergartens, daycare centers. Under discussion, Morningstar Mission Ministries, the property owner, seeks to convert the former Smith Family YMCA into a youth center that would offer daycare, after-school care, and summer day camp services. The Joliet zoning ordinance requires a special use permit for these proposed uses. Morningstar rationale for opening a youth center is included as an attachment to the staff report. Proposed daycare center will be in partnership with Catholic Charities Head Start program. The proposed after-school and summer camp programs will be in partnership with the YMCA. The conceptual floor plan of the proposed conversion of the former YMCA as well as site plan are included as attachments. The former swimming pool will be filled in and that area will be used for storage. The proposed plan includes large multi-purpose room, which was the former gymnasium, 4 daycare rooms, new bathroom facilities, a commercial kitchen, and this is to prepare meals to serve the youth programs, and new office spaces. Zoning Board of Appeals reviewed a similar proposal from Morningstar for a youth center at this location at their January 2022 meeting. This proposal included a companion special use permit petition for 10 permanent supportive housing units with the former pool area of the facility. The Zoning Board of Appeals unanimously voted to deny the request for a youth center and unanimously voted to recommend denial of the permanent supportive housing request to the City Council. Morningstar chose not to move forward to the City Council review of their special use permit request for permanent supportive housing. Morningstar requests a new review of their youth center proposal now that their proposal is no longer associated with a permanent supportive housing request. Under conditions, should the Zoning Board of Appeals desire to approve the special use permit request, the following conditions of approval would be included. A designated outdoor play area for children accommodating 25% of the center's licensed capacity shall be created at an on-site location approved by staff prior to a certificate of occupancy being issued. 2, that the existing parking lot shall be maintained. 3, that there shall be no future residential use or housing of any kind permitted at the property. 4, that failure to comply with any of the above conditions could result in a rehearing and a possible revocation of the special use permit. 5, that the special use permit shall be subject to review and revocation if activities of the occupants on premises or in the adjacent neighborhood create a public nuisance, result in an unreasonable number of nature of calls for service, or if the premises violate city, state, or federal laws. 6, should the property be declared a public nuisance, it shall be subject to a rehearing and a possible revocation of the special use permit. And 7, that the special use granted shall herein terminate and lapse unless a building permit or certificate of occupancy is obtained no later than 180 days of the effective date of this ordinance, and the erection or alteration of a building is started or the use is commenced within such period. And that concludes our staff report.
Petitioner, come forward, please. I'll swear you in. Do you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Name and address.
Nathaniel Washburn, 111 North Ottawa Street with KGG LLC. I'm the attorney for the petitioner Morningstar Mission, Inc. I do have a representative from Morningstar here if there are questions that I'm not able to answer. We believe staff gave a very thorough and comprehensive report. As it was noted, Morningstar previously applied for a similar permit, however, it was tied at the hip to a supported housing request. It's been our impression from further discussions with city staff that the supportive housing request was a bit problematic, and as a result, we've removed that from this request, and we are trying to get a daycare and after-school care facility back up and running at the former YMCA site. So we would ask for your consideration and a vote of approval, but if you have any questions, we are here to answer those.
Do you agree with all the conditions as stated?
We do. We are in agreement with those conditions.
Any questions by the board? Is there anybody in the audience wishing to speak in favor of the petition? Is there anyone opposed?
I'm neither. I just want to come up and speak.
Well, come forward. I must swear you in. Do you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Name and address.
Margie C. Pond, 1114 Wood Irish Drive. I just have a question. That condition, no residential use on the property, is that for the entire 26 and a half acres?
Yes.
Or is that primarily just the building?
So for the whole acreage, isn't it?
It's for the entire property.
Okay, so that begs another question. What does Morningstar intend to do with the remaining 26 and a half acres? If it can't be, if it's not residential, no supportive housing, I'm in complete favor of that. What are the intentions, and what could that remaining 26 and a half or 26 acres? I don't know how large the parcel is that the building sits on, but I'd like to ask the petitioner that.
As staff noted, the condition for no housing is on the entire property. The property has been this way since for many decades, Jim, while the YMCA was operating it. So the balance of the property is a large yard. Part of that is going to be developed to have this outdoor play area, and the balance of the property will remain exactly what it is. Nothing can be done with it without coming back to the city for future subdivision, rezoning, or other approvals. So the city will have some control, actually complete control over what ends up going there. It's currently zoned RB restricted business. However, without a subdivision, staff, correct me if I'm wrong, no other building or use could go up, without coming back to the city for other approvals, correct?
That's right.
So at this time, to the best of my knowledge, there are no plans to develop the remaining acreage. It will be developed for this daycare facility, maintained as such as the YMCA had acted for the decades previous.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have no further questions. I appreciate your time.
As we've asked for anyone wishing to speak, and there is no further, the chair is closing the petition to the floor, and asking the board for discussion and a motion.
I move we approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the petition. Pull the board.
Mr. McShane?
Aye.
Mr. Noctre?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Ms. Safford? Aye. Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that vote is final. That does not go on to city council like was stated earlier, so that is final. Moving on to new business. First petition is 2022-26. The applicant is Blanca Callier. Status of the applicant is owner. Location is 501 Irene Street. The request is a series of variations. Under purpose, the petitioner is requesting the following 3 variations from the city zoning ordinance to allow construction of a new 20-foot by 24-foot detached garage at 501 Irene Street. The 3 variations are: 1, increase in allowable lot coverage from 30% to 40%. 2, reduction in front yard setback from Washington Street from 30 feet to 0 feet. And lastly, reduction in side yard common lot line setback from 3 feet to 1 feet 6 inches. Under site-specific information, the subject property is 0.08 acres and is zone R2 single-family residential. Property has an existing legal non-conforming garage of similar size, 18.8 feet by 22.2 feet, in the location where the proposed garage would be located. Property also contains a 991 square foot single-family residence. Surrounding zoning, land use, and character: to the north is R2 vacant lot. To the south is R2 single-family residential. To the east is R3 duplex. To the west is R2 single-family residential. Under applicable regulations, section 4717.29, percentage of ground coverage. Section 47-6.4, R2 single-family residential district, yard and lot requirements. Section 4717.33, yards required for corner and through lots. Section 47-17.4, corner lot accessory building. Section 4753, permitted accessory uses. Section 47-19.8, criteria for granting a variation, and you could refer to the attachment for that. Under discussion, the approval of the 3 requested variations would allow the construction of the new 20-foot by 24-foot, 480 square foot garage. The garage would increase in size from the 18.8 feet to 20 feet in width, and from 22.2 feet to 24 feet in length. The attached building design plans indicate that the garage will feature vinyl siding, aluminum siding, and architectural roof shingles. The finding of facts needed to support the requested variations as outlined in section 4719.8 of the city code establishes a practical difficulty that warrants the requested variations. The R2 single-family residential zone requires a minimum lot size of 7,500 square feet for new lots. However, the subject property consists of a pre-existing lot that is only 3,700 square feet in size. While the proposed garage is approximately 15% larger than the property's existing garage, staff finds that the proposed garage will not be out of character with the surrounding area and that unique circumstances exist due to the lot constraints. Development of the proposed garage on the subject property is further complicated by its status as a corner through lot, meaning that the property has frontage along 3 streets, Irene Street to the south, Comstock Street to the east, and Washington Street to the north. This further necessitates a 30-foot front yard setback from the Washington Street frontage as required per section 4717.33 of the city's zoning ordinance. Furthermore, per section 47-17.4 of the city's zoning ordinance, the new garage will not project beyond the building to which it is accessory along the Comstock Street frontage. This provision allows the building to be located within the required 30-foot front yard setback along this frontage. An existing striped bump out on eastbound Washington Street will preserve the visibility triangle for eastbound traffic despite the additional 2 feet in garage width. Under conditions, if the zoning board desires to approve the requested variations, the following conditions would be included. 1, construction of the new garage will follow all applicable building codes. And I believe that concludes our staff report.
I'll swear you in, ma'am. Do you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, I do.
Name and address.
My name is Blanca Calle and 501 Irene Street.
Okay, would you care to make any comments?
Actually, no. It's just I need no measures, and I hope so. I can get it to make my new garage.
Okay. Any questions by the board? Comments? Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor? Or anyone opposed? Chair closes the petition to the floor and asks the board for discussion and a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion second to approve the petition. Poll the board.
Mr. Noctry?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Ms. Saffer?
Aye.
Mr. Lucio?
Aye.
Mr. McShane?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Next petition number is 2022-27. The applicant owner is Diego Yelpo. Location is 3715 Flower Meadow Street. Request was for a variation, but under the information there, the applicant has decided to withdraw this request for a variation to reduce the rear yard setback to construct a covered porch. They've changed the dimensions of their project so that it meets current zoning ordinance requirements and does not require a variation. So that petition was withdrawn. Next petition is number 2022-28. The applicant is Guy Dragizic. He's an Olympic Sign Company. The owner is Terry Darcy. The location is 2000 Essington Road, and the request is a variation. Purpose is Olympic Sign Company, on behalf of the property owner, is requesting a variance to increase the size of a directional sign at the future Darcy Motors Hyundai dealership at 2000 Essington Road. ZBA makes the final decision for this variation request. Under site-specific information, there is a long history of development approvals associated with the 6.3 acre site. Most recently, the city approved in November 2020 a revised preliminary plat for Darcy Estates subdivision, final and recording plats of Darcy Estates Unit 2 subdivision, a zoning reclassification, 2 vacations, and a special use permit in order to allow for the expansion of the existing Darcy Motors business, as well as the establishment of a second automobile dealership at this location. Property is zoned B3 general business. Under surrounding zoning land use and character, to the north is B3, and that's automobile dealership. To the south is R2, R3, and R4, and that's residential. To the east is R2 and R4, and it's undeveloped. To the west is B3 and R2, commercial and residential. Under applicable regulations, 47-17.21 signs and 47-17.213 BB, criteria for granting a sign variation, and you could refer to the attachments. Under discussion, as part of the future Hyundai dealership construction project, Darcy Motors would like a larger directional sign to better facilitate safe and efficient movement at this property. Darcy Motors also has a second dealership on the adjacent property to the north, and the company anticipates customers using the proposed directional sign to navigate both dealerships. The City of Joliet zoning ordinance limits directional signage to 3 square feet of sign area and to a height of 10 feet. Darcy Motors proposes one directional sign with a 9.79 square feet of sign area and a height of 4 feet. Under conditions, we have none, and that concludes our staff report.
Petitioner here. Do you swear that the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, I do.
Name and address.
1130, it's Guy Dragonstick, Olympic sign, 1130 North Garfield, Lombard, Illinois.
You have the floor.
Basically, staff covered the request pretty thoroughly, so if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions? Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Chair closes the petition to the floor and asks the board for discussion and name motion.
Could I have a question for city staff?
Yes, you could.
Okay. This is another instance of a sign that exceeds established criteria. Any progress on relooking at the current policies?
No progress made on that. It is still on our to-do list. So hopefully we can get to it this year to cut down on some of these,
Okay.
and bring it more up to date.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? Proceed. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have motion and second to approve the petition. Pull the board.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Ms. Safford? Aye. Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. McShane?
Aye.
Mr. Nectree?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next petition number is 2022-29. The applicant is Easter Seals Joliet Region. The status of the applicant is contract purchaser. The owner is Bobby Noonan's Child Care LLC. The location is 2504 Fairway Drive. Request is a special use permit. Under purpose, the applicant is requesting a special use permit to allow an adult day services center at 2504 Fairway Drive. The City of Joliet zoning ordinance provides that daycares are special uses in the R2 single-family residential zoning district. Zoning Board of Appeals is the final decision-making body for the special use permit request. Site-specific information: the subject property is an approximately 19,000 square foot lot located at the southwest corner of Fairway Drive and Barney Drive. The site contains a 3,362 square foot commercial building with a paved parking and drop-off area in the front and outdoor space in the rear. The building is currently occupied by Bobby Noonan's Child Care Center, which has been at this location for over 25 years, will be closing in early June. Easter Seals is in the process of purchasing the property. Property is zoned R2 single-family residential. Surrounding zoning, land use, and character: the subject property is located at the eastern edge of Parkview Residential Subdivision. The properties along the west side of Barney Drive are zoned R2 single-family residential. The properties along the east side of Barney Drive are all zoned B3 general business and contain commercial uses. Zoning and land use for the adjacent properties are as follows. To the north is R2 single-family residential. That's Easter Seals parking lot and single-family home. To the south is R2 single-family residential, and there's a single-family home. To the east is B3 general business, Easter Seals Joliet Region headquarters. To the west is R2 single-family residential, and there's a single-family home there. Under applicable regulations, Section 47.5.2A3, special uses, and Section 47-5.2C, criteria for issuance of special use permit, and you could refer to the attachment. Under discussion, Easter Seals is a health and human services nonprofit organization that provides services, education, outreach, and advocacy so that people with disabilities can live, learn, work, and play in our communities. The organization is requesting a special use permit to allow an adult day services program serving young adults with developmental disabilities transitioning from special education and individuals with developmental disabilities residing in community residential homes. Program would be certified through the Department of Human Services and would serve as a learning center for its participants, assisting with pre-vocational skills and other daily adaptive living skills. The proposed program would be held at 2504 Fairway Drive, which has been owned and operated by Bobby Noonan's Child Care for over 25 years. Bobby Noonan's will be closing in June, and Easter Seals is in the process of purchasing the property. The Easter Seals Joliet Region Headquarters and Regional Pediatric Center are located to the east at 212 Barney Drive. This location contains offices for staff, a child care center, and outpatient health services such as physical therapy, occupational therapy, and social work counseling. Easter Seals does not currently operate any other adult day services locations in Joliet. Program hours would be 8:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m., Monday through Friday. Staff hours would be 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Program would serve 24 attendees aged 22 and older and employ 4 staff members. Existing building contains an office, kitchen, and several program rooms. The only planned interior modifications is updating the bathrooms for adult use. The current outdoor playground equipment would be removed so the area could be used as outdoor space. Drop-off and pickup would take place in the circle drive at the front of the building. There are 6 parking spaces on the property. Easter Seals also owns the parking lot to the north, across Fairway Drive, which can be used for additional parking. A site plan and floor plan are attached. Easter Seals has held a neighborhood meeting on Monday, May the 16th at their headquarters at 212 Barney Drive with the neighbors. Under conditions, if the zoning board desires to approve this special use permit to allow an adult day services center, the following conditions would be included. 1, that the special use granted shall herein terminate and lapse unless a building permit or certificate of occupancy is obtained no later than 180 days. 2, should the property be declared a public nuisance, it shall be subject to a rehearing and a possible revocation of the special use permit. And 3, that the business shall be registered with the city clerk's office, and that concludes our staff report.
Commissioner here?
Hello.
Do you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, I do.
Name and address.
My name is Deborah Condotti, and I'm the CEO of Easter Seals Joliet Region at 212 Barney Drive here in Joliet.
Thank you. Any comments you'd like to make?
The staff did an excellent job in putting together all of the descriptions of what we are proposing to do at Easter Seals to add some additional access to young adults transitioning from special ed who have no other programs to go to. Following the pandemic, we identified a number of individuals who need that type of support, and the proximity and opportunity to buy Bobby Noonan is just a great fit for our organization. We've been established in the neighborhood since 1988 with our Regional Pediatric Center directly across the street. So we appreciate consideration from the zoning board for the special use permit to do this.
Yeah, could you give us an example of some of the types of treatment you'd be giving, or what exactly you're doing?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
With the age group of people, what kind of hardships or problems do they have? How do they get to the location? Are they mobile, or are they brought there in cars, or how?
Yes, so when we had the neighborhood meeting Monday evening, actually we had one neighbor come. Her son was served by Easter Seals when he was a young boy. While he works part-time at Jewel, he has really not a lot else available to him, to occupy his time. So we had 3 other parents come because they heard about the proposal for us to offer an additional program for these young adults, and they wanted to know more about it. So what happens is young people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and special ed are eligible to stay in school until age 22, and then their school program ends. And then they have sometimes nowhere to go and are looking for various options. So we've provided residential services for several years, along with other community agencies. And so we've known and understood for many years some of the challenges these folks have. At the same time, there are many opportunities for individuals to gain some form of employment, especially now. We've seen some of these folks successful in food services, hospitality, and retail, but not full-time. So it's a place where people can actually add to some of their independent living skills. The parents of these children are concerned over time that they have as most independence as possible. Of course, to prepare their own meal, to be able to take care of themselves to the extent possible. So I do want everyone to know here, though, that we have service partners in the community, including Cornerstone Services, Trinity Services, United Cerebral Palsy, and others that we worked with for years to serve adults with, developmental disabilities. There just is not adequate access for them and for the number of these young people coming up now, that are leaving school. So we're developing our curriculum right now, but it does have a full-service kitchen, which lends well to, some of the areas of food service. It's a facility that is very open, which allows us to kind of design our curriculum around the different spaces that have existed at Bobby Noonan. But we had a group of students come, I think it was, the day before yesterday from Joliet Township High School transition program. And they're individuals with cognitive deficits. Some have some level of autism. We don't see as many young people with cerebral palsy anymore, for example, because that's been mitigated with healthcare now. We see some still with Down syndrome, but not as much as years ago. So that's kind of the population that we're talking about. It wouldn't mean that someone that was 40 years old couldn't come to our program, but we really want to focus on the population of students that are now at home attempting to transition, to, I guess, more of an adult lifestyle.
Or independent living? Is that what you're seeking?
I'm sorry, I don't hear very well.
No, I said you're looking for, create a situation where they can have more independent living on their own. The job placements.
A lot of these individuals will always need supports, some may be able, they haven't achieved their maximum potential yet, perhaps. So it'll be interesting to see what else we can do. We're certainly going to work on their whole person and person-centered. So, a little bit of academics, of course, and using money. Certainly some recreation and leisure, their health and wellness, and then some of the other vocational traits, like we will be able to, with the full-service kitchen, work on preparing meals, and perhaps some of these folks would be able to even work in an eatery, for example, on a part-time basis. We're working on social skills, the use of technology. We have a lot of exciting plans, but they're yet to be developed. And actually, we don't own the building yet. It does have a special use permit, but it wouldn't transfer to us because we don't intend to use it as a child care center for children. So.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions by the board?
I have one. What is the capacity and what is the staff ratio going to be on that?
So the current Bobby Noonan capacity for childcare is in the high 50s, although in recent years I haven't noticed that they were at capacity. But our proposal is 24 adults on a daily basis, and the staffing ratio would be 1 to 6.
Any further questions? Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Chair closes petition and asks the board for discussion and a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the petition. Poll the board, please.
Ms. Sanford? Aye. Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. McShane?
Aye.
Mr. Noctre?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Again, that special use permit is final. Last application we have is petition numbers 2022-30 and 2022-31. The applicant is CHI Acquisitions LP. Status of applicant is contract purchaser. The owner is Centerpoint Terminal Company LLC. The location is 3850 South Youngs Road. Request is a special use permit and a variation. The petitioner, under purpose, the petitioner is requesting a special use permit to allow 2 high-flow through truck terminal facilities located at 3850 South Youngs Road. Flow-through distribution is a process in which products from multiple locations are brought into the distribution center and resorted by delivery destination, then shipped out in the same day with little to no storage or handling time, typically involving a combination of truckload and less than truckload carrier resources. This practice eliminates warehousing, reduces inventory levels, and speeds up order turnaround time. Per the zoning ordinance, section 4714.2 AD, special uses, all industrial districts, carting, express hauling establishments may be allowed as special uses by the mayor and city council with the advice of the zoning board of appeals in accordance with section 47.5.2, provided that such establishments are not within 300 feet of residential zone. The development also requires a variation from section 47.3.2B of the zoning ordinance to allow 2 main buildings on 1 parcel. This code section defines a main building as a building in which is conducted the principal use of the lot in which it is situated. Proposed development would involve construction of 2 similar high-flow through truck terminal facilities upon the same lot, thereby necessitating the requested variation. Under site-specific information, the 71.06 acre subject property is vacant and currently slopes downward from west to east to the Des Plaines River. Property contains approximately 13 acres of impacted wetlands in addition to flood zones A and AE adjacent to the Des Plaines River. The Federal Emergency Management Agency categorizes these flood zones as high-risk flood areas. FEMA requires additional permitting for a construction project within a special flood hazard area, such as those areas indicated in flood zones A and AE. The petitioner will be applying for a conditional letter of map revision, a CLOMAR, and a letter of map revision, a LOMAR, from FEMA for the fill being proposed within the floodplain and for compensatory storage of stormwater being provided on site. The resulting fill would put the proposed north building's floor elevation approximately 23 feet above the base flood zone elevation. Petitioner will be applying for an additional permit from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, USACE, to mitigate approximately 13 acres of wetlands by providing an off-site wetland area of approximately 20 acres, or approximately 1.5 to 1 ratio per USAC requirements. Existing industrial uses can be found to the north and south of the subject property, with additional trucking and warehousing uses west of Youngs Road, as seen in Figure 1 below. The greater area has City of Joliet I-2 general industrial zoning or established industrial uses within the county. Surrounding zoning to the north is County I-3 industrial, to the south is I-2 industrial, to the east is I-3 Des Plaines River industrial, to the west is I-2 and County I-3 industrial. Applicable regulations, section 4714.2 AD, special uses, all industrial districts. Section 47, 5.2C, criteria for issuance of a special use permit. You can see the attached petition. Section 47-3.2B, basic types of buildings and uses, main building. Section 47-19.8, criteria for granting a variation, and you can refer to the attachment. Under discussion, the approval of the requested special use permit, along with the requested variation to allow 2 main buildings on 1 parcel, would allow development of the proposed 2 high flow-through truck terminal facilities. Buildings would each be 73,600 square feet in size with a maximum height of 38 feet 6 inches. Exterior of the buildings would be comprised of painted precast concrete panels with insulated glazing on windows. Table 1 below summarizes the number of parking stalls and loading docks proposed for each building. As a result of the site's topography and decreasing lot width toward the south, the north building would have more parking available. And you could see that table summary. Each building would be accessed by a separate internal driveway connecting to Young's Road. 2 driveways are over 1,000 feet apart. An access drive to an existing barge terminal would extend off the northern internal driveway. The attached site photos show that the site generally slopes downward from Young's Road. Instead of installation of a landscape berm in this area, the petitioner is proposing a mixture of existing trees with a combination of ornamental, evergreen, and shade trees along the western property line to screen the development from the Young's Road view shed. The proposed configuration is depicted in the attached preliminary landscape plan. Approval of the special use permit shall be contingent upon staff's acceptance and review of a landscape plan for the property. The petitioner's traffic study estimates that the proposed development would generate an average of 1,020 total trips inbound and outbound on a typical weekday, including car trips. About 13% of the total trip volume is anticipated to occur during the AM 6 to 9 and PM 3 to 6 peak hours. Remaining anticipated trips would be spread out throughout the rest of the day, with peak 15-minute intervals estimated at 7 trips per peak interval. All public improvements will be required by the Public Works and Utilities Department for the city zoning ordinance and the city subdivision regulations. Sewer and water connection fees and developer impact fees will be required. Pending approval of required ACOE and FEMA permits, staff generally finds that the petitioner has established with clear and convincing evidence that the criteria outlined in section 47.5.2 of the city code, which covers the conditions that must be present for a special use permit to be issued, will be met with the proposed use and site plan. All properties within a 3,000 feet radius of the subject property either have existing industrial uses or are zoned for future industrial uses within the city or county. Properties directly north and south of the subject property each have existing extensive industrial uses and are generally compatible with the proposed truck terminal use. Measures have been taken to lengthen truck approaches onto Young's Road from the east side of the proposed development to ensure that trucks enter the road at even intervals throughout the day. Development will be required to tap onto city water and sewer, sanitary sewer, and pay all applicable connection and impact fees. Finding of facts needed to support the requested variations as outlined in section 47.19.8 of the city code establishes a practical difficulty that warrants the requested variation from section 47.3.2b. Proposed building and parking configuration for the south building does not conform to the pre-existing lot alignment. As the buildings are being developed on a speculative basis, it is possible that both buildings may be occupied by the same tenant. In this instance, the current lot configuration may prove to be sufficient for a future tenant. In the event the development nets different tenants for each building, the developer will create a plat of subdivision to adjust the current boundary lines so that each proposed building is on its own lot. Under conditions, if approved, the following conditions would be included. 1, submissions of an approval letter for the conditional letter of map revision from FEMA. 2, submission of an approval letter for the required USACE permit for offsite wetland mitigation. 3, city staff approval of the following: landscape plan, engineering plan, stormwater management plan, and traffic study if required. And that concludes our staff report.
Petitioners? Yeah, anybody that's gonna speak, come on forward.
I'm the petitioner. Now or?
Yeah, I can swear you all in at one time, so.
Perfect.
Okay, gentlemen, do you all swear that the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Could I have each of your names and addresses?
Yeah, Jack Raven, 2707 North Bolton Avenue in Chicago, Illinois.
Kyle Sam with Sam Schwartz Consulting. We're at 223 West Jackson Boulevard in Chicago.
Jason Sapolsky with Jacob and Hefner Associates, 1442 Joshua Court in Geneva, Illinois.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you guys all for seeing us today. Jim did a fantastic job laying out the project, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I represent Crow Holdings. We are part of a 70-year family development legacy based out of Dallas. I'm based in the Chicago office with my colleague Matt Cruz, who unfortunately is home with a family full of COVID right now, so he's sorry he cannot be here. So the Chicago office was started in 2018. We got about 3 million square feet of development across the Chicago market. That includes anything from a 100,000 square foot project to a 1.1 million square foot park. We've done now 2 truck terminals to date. This will be our 3rd and 4th. Most recently, we are constructing a truck terminal up on Route 6 right by the casino in Joliet. We were here about a year and a half ago for that special use that was approved. We're excited to get this project going. As Jim mentioned, this site offers a handful of challenges, but also alternative more strengths for this type of use. Most notably, Jim, do you have the pictures that I sent over from Ray?
I don't know if he loaded those or not. I think Ray's handling those, yeah.
Okay. While that's being pulled up here, so the location of this site within this broader industrial park. So if you get the other picture would be great. Thank you so much. So as you guys look at this park here, you see that Michelin logo right there. That was the first building that we did as an office. That was back in 2018. When we constructed that building, the vast majority of the other buildings in this park were not there yet. So there's been obviously a huge boom of industrial development, has been well documented across the city, but in particular down in Joliet and in this pocket, really kind of piggybacking off of the 2 intermodals down there and the premium access to I-55 and I-80, which are some of the preeminent industrial corridors in the country, really. So the location of this site being kind of on the edge of Joliet, inside of this park here, with that access to both the intermodals and the interstate system, make this incredibly valuable and really apt for this type of development. The other big item too, and this type of use of truck terminals are something that's been there's been an increasing demand and need for it across the supply chain, but there's been an increasingly smaller amount of space where communities want them or can fit them. So when it comes to a site like this, where it's tucked back in an existing industrial park, it's away from all residential, all traffic will flow through an established park with roads that are suitable and designed for truck traffic and funneled straight towards the highway system. It's pretty rare to find something like this. And on top of that, Jim mentioned this, it slopes down about 15 to 20 feet from the Youngs Road elevation down to where we will ultimately build the site. And can you pull that other picture up, please? So this was shown in Jim's packet. But this is a picture of it, what it looks like right now when it's in bloom in spring and summer. It is full of foliage all the way up and down. We plan to keep as many of those trees as possible. Obviously, we'll need to do some cuts for where the access points will need to be. But this site is extremely well covered from the street. Beyond being tucked in the back of this park, no one can really see what's going on down there. I mean, that's looking straight back. It's a straight drop, and then it flattens out, and then you get to the river. So there's a lot of strengths to this that are very rare. So that's really kind of the gist of why we're really focused on this site.
And with regards to traditional industrial, we did explore putting something like that here. There are geotechnical issues with the site. In particular, it's got what's called shallow bedrock, so there's no clay fill like you typically have in most industrial sites or most building sites. So there's about a small layer of topsoil, and then you hit bedrock, which is extremely hard. And the cost to make a building pad in mass grade for a big box building like you typically see in that park is you can't cover it with the economics. So what these truck terminal facility offer is they lower your cost basis enough, and where the market rates are for those facilities, it makes it feasible to build something here, where traditionally it'd be very tough to build a regular warehouse there. So that's kind of the background. Hopefully preemptively answers some questions there. And then I have can you play that video perchance? So this is now, as I mentioned, our third and fourth terminal project. This is not, the type of terminal facility that was built even 10 years ago, where it was a sheet metal with like a gravel lot. These are institutional quality, investment grade products that, we're proud to build, and our investors are proud to own and be a part of. So this video was created to kind of like show what that kind of looks like now. As you mentioned, these are precast structures, full concrete paving. We have landscaping, and as a whole, it's somewhere that people can be proud to go to work at. So if you could hit play, please. And the music is pretty great too. So this is in Bolingbrook. We just completed and actually sold this project. It closed beginning of this year. So 4-building park here, with a terminal being one of the central features of it. So this is about 139 doors, and there's roughly, if you include the tractor trailer parking where the actual tractors themselves, there's about 350 positions for trailers. So Roadrunner is one of the large trucking LTL users out there. They occupy this facility fully and have been operating it. We pre-lease this facility. We currently, on these 2 parcels, we have, without really marketing it fully, we have 3 RFPs in front of us, and a multitude of email inquiries asking about it. And we're really too soon to even commit to any of those. Obviously, we need the special use, and there's other wetland approvals as well. So that's the gist there. And then the last thing I'll add here, you notice obviously there's a lot of trailer parking there. It might seem excessive, but the way these facilities and operators work, they operate a huge, massive fleet of trailers and tractors. And the more they can consolidate in one location, it greatly increases their efficiency and lowers their costs. And as I mentioned, it's increasingly hard for these companies to find pieces of land and communities that can handle the amount of acreage needed, because it's not as seemly to the eye as a traditional warehouse or another use. Where this is structured and set up, it is shielded. We're shielding from those negative externalities. So what they benefit from is, instead of having a trailer at a random or a random building or spread out across multiple smaller terminals, they can consolidate at one, where the majority of the company's traffic flows through as a stopping point in the however long their supply chain is, and that trailer could be either stored there for a longer period or a short period of time. So with that, I'll stop talking there, and if any questions you guys have, we're happy to answer them.
What's the turnaround time for a vehicle coming in and unloading and getting out of there?
So a vehicle coming in, they'll come straight to the docks, and they'll get out of there as quickly as possible. The tractor itself, whether it picks up a different trailer, uses the same trailer, or leaves without a trailer, it really depends on the operator.
So there's no facilities for drivers to stay overnight or shower?
There's typically facilities in that Roadrunner facility. So they split up. There's the office for the office workers and a bathroom for them, but there's also a break room and washroom with showers for the truckers themselves that's usually kept separate in that office section. So when they stop, they can stay there. It depends on the operation. really, but there are facilities for them to stop and get refreshments and, shower if they need to, and then be on their way.
What kind of traffic control do you have in there too, with all that? How many trucks a day did you say?
You have the exact numbers there for that?
I think daily it's about 1,000 trips.
1,000 trips. So that includes car traffic along with truck traffic. So a lot of that ends up being employee shifts as well, shift changes for these facilities. We can get a breakdown of those, do we?
How do you control that traffic? I mean, it sounds like
So
we're awfully
it's really,
congested.
it's a symphony, really, when it comes down to the amount of logistics and information technology that goes into this is pretty impressive, even more so than a traditional warehouse, because this is a stopping point for a variety of goods, and either going to a different terminal or an end warehouse. And with less than load, they have multiple pallets of goods, sometimes from different companies, within a same truck. So they're mixing and matching depending and figuring out what the most efficient way is to get it from point A to point B to point C.
Well, with inflation being what it is, and I hope you got some trucks coming in with baby food.
Yes, I would agree, but this does help with that as well.
But that's my point, is that if you can accelerate the process, that's one of the basic reasons we have so much inflation right now.
Exactly. And it gives, especially smaller businesses too, it gives them economies of scale, access to economies of scale, whereas they typically would have to pay for maybe a full truck they can't fill, right? Or they wouldn't have access potentially to a professional logistics provider, but now they're able to spread the costs across different carriers, whoever, different companies, rather, whoever's in that truck, which is great.
Any other questions by the board?
I have a couple. What do you suspect the number of employees they have at this facility?
It really varies on the operator. So with Roadrunner, Dave, how big was that office that we had there? 10,000? About 10,000 square feet. Now, if you've seen that video, there's a bunch of workstations in there. I would guess 150 workers there? 50 to 100 workers, roughly.
And what is the prevention of these parking lot oils and all going into the river?
You wanna take that?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So there is no detention required for the site because it's a direct discharge site. However, there are compensatory storage requirements that we're gonna have to meet because of the FEMA floodplain fill. And as well, the Corps is now making us go through, we're gonna create almost bioswale areas. We're either looking at bioswales to treat the water, or we're gonna use what's called, is known as mechanical BMPs, which have oil water separators and everything before it would discharge to the river.
And are you doing anything with the riverbank itself?
No, there's no plans to do that. So there's a current terminal operation there that is part of our purchase. It's really just barge parking right now. There's no unloading or offloading of any goods there. I've been learning a lot about it myself. Apparently it's quite rare to have just barge parking in general on the displays. A lot of goods go up and down there, more commodities every day. So we plan to just continue and renew that lease likely, maybe find another one, but it'll be the same operation that's currently happening right now.
As I understand it, you folks are just building this, but then it's spec, right? You're going to sell it?
Yeah, this is a speculative development. So within industrial, 80% of all development is speculative. That's just kind of tends to be how it is. A lot of operators, and logistics providers can't think far enough into the future to preemptively, do a build-to-suit, which just how they work. So.
Yeah. So I guess back to the city then, that means that whoever buys this will need to defend the traffic and how it will get onto the various roads, they will have to deal with whatever improvements are needed for access to the highways. Would that be correct, or is it are these guys on the hook?
They'll improve it, yeah, they'll develop the site, so they'll develop it as per our specs. And when they get tenants in there, that they would, monitor comings and goings and so forth, those logistic situations.
Yeah. The addition of 1,000 trucks or vehicles in and out is quite an increase of what's probably already happening there. So
you'd be surprised with the amount of can you go back to that the aerial of the park? So that park has I mean, I believe it's got probably about 6 million foot buildings in it right now, and then another, couple, 250 to 500,000 square foot projects. That amount of traffic is the equivalent of like a 700,000 square foot facility, just comparably. On this site itself, we looked at the potential of putting a big warehouse there. The size we're looking at was 925,000 square feet, so it's actually smaller than what would be there if we had a traditional warehouse, or if someone else came along and tried to do a traditional warehouse here. So from that point of view, it's actually less of an impact than it potentially could be, right? But again, all that traffic's gonna flow internally through that park, and go to either that interchange to the south there, where it's a straight shot down this pretty wide, recently built industrial park road, or it'll go to the one to the north there off of where that Ridgeline building is. So we're pretty confident from that point of view. The infrastructure is currently in place, and candidly is better than really anywhere in the state, and best suited to handle this type of operation.
I'll add one clarity to that too. And just adding one clarity on that was 1,000 trips. So that's, again, a trip is a movement, so that's really 500 is what that is. So just for clarity on that.
And that also included employee cars.
Yes, and that's one trip is just like in.
Sure.
So every car makes 2 trips in a
Sure,
facility.
that's right.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so the plans are with the 2 different exit, or the entrance and exit points there to the north and the south. So are you directing the traffic where they can go at all from there, or they can go either way, or how's that gonna work?
So the 2 entrance points there, we want to keep both terminals to be ideally work envisioning as separate. They don't like sharing if it's different providers. If it's a single provider, we'll figure out a way to work with it. But everyone's like, I mean, you think they're like Fort Knox dealing with all the money in the world, but it's just kind of how it works. So the one access point on Youngs Road there on the south, that likely will just continue on Youngs Road because that's the easiest right in, kind of right out kind of situation there. The northern point there, we will have signage directing everyone to continue interior. I believe that's what we're doing, correct? So again, it is the most efficient path. No one wants to go to Route 6. That intersection there is not great at all. There's a power line there and there's a rail crossing, and trucks do not like dealing with either one of those. So it will behoove them to continue on those very nice, wide industrial roads so they can stay out of trouble.
So they'll be going to Bluff Road then, or would they be going?
So they'll be going on the Bluff Road, or potentially, I mean, in my mind, if I were a truck driver, I would shoot right down. There's right by the Scots there.
Yeah.
There's a pretty wide, brand new road that goes straight north-south. That's where they'll likely head. There's a potential they could go out around that Amazon up to Ridgeline, where that truck stop is there, and head up on where that Route 6 entrance is. But that intersection and light there, I don't know if you guys have been there, it's a beefy intersection designed for truck traffic.
Any other comments? Anyone in the audience? Here's your chance. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor? You could do that. Anyone opposed? Chair closes petition floor and asks the board for.
One thing I would add is, this would be subject to our payment in lieu of taxes requirement for truck parking. So we'll add that to the conditions, and that will go forward as part of the conditions to city council. If it wasn't in there, they'd be subject to it anyway, but we'd like to, address that in the
That would be
conditions
on the
as well.
developer that comes in later, right?
Pardon me?
That would be on the new operators themselves.
Well, it'd be passed through,
Yeah.
likely.
Yeah.
Yes, but yes, it actually makes the more parking we have more accretive to the city.
Okay. Is that it, Jim?
That's all.
Okay, motion would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
We have motion and second to approve the petition. Pull the board.
Is this for 2022-30, the special
Yeah, let's
use?
take these one at a time.
Yes,
Yeah.
For petition 2022-30 special use.
okay. Okay. Mr. Noctry made the motion?
Yeah, and
And Mr. Alessio second.
And I know, as Jim mentioned, but I just want to make sure the motion reflects that condition with the payment in lieu of taxes is included, so.
Sure.
or did you make the motion?
You made the motion.
I made it, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. McShane?
Aye.
Mr. Noctry?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Ms. Safford? Aye. Mr. Hennessy?
Aye. Petition 2022-30 or 31?
31, please.
Motion would be in order.
Come on, somebody do
Motion to approve. Second.
Is everybody still awake?
it. Yeah.
We have a motion and a second to approve the petition. Poll the board.
Mr. McShane?
Aye.
Mr. Noctre?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Ms. Sanford?
Aye.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And that one will go to city council, the second meeting in June, second city council meeting in June. Moving on through the agenda, we are done with our cases. Number 7, old, new business, not for final action or recommendation, we have none. Under 8, public comments, anyone wanting to speak on non-agenda items. I don't believe we have anybody in the public seating area anymore, so I don't believe anybody would have any public comments. Number 9 is adjournment, if you wish.
Let's have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Poll the board.
Mr. Noctre?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Ms. Sanford? Aye. Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. McShane?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Gee, at the next meeting, we'll be able to approve the minutes. How about that? Aye.
Thank you very much. We'll see you next month.